Hey, welcome back. Week 2 of 2018. Great to see you again here at the Stadium View on Holmgren Way. Just a stone's throw from Lambeau Field. We've got a big show for you tonight. How about 51 points big over the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Ow!
Last Thursday night was that crazy. Point-a-minute offense for the Green Bay Packers. Big because Robinson's is back with their special giveaway. Somebody's going to go shopping up the street at the Packer Pro Shop. Yes, the big gift card returns. And it's big because we've got the lids. New Era has come through again. The boys from Buffalo, New York. I want to thank Kyle McGowan and his crew at New Era for sending us the Packer sideline hats. We've got home and away versions this year. Here's the home one we're giving away tonight. Oh, yeah. And the general manager of the Packers, Brian Gutekunst, is going to be on board as our special guest tonight. A rather large show indeed. Alongside, as usual, big for him because I'm keeping him away from his denouement softball game tonight.
That's right.
He already wrapped up the title. He doesn't have to play tonight at 6.
That's right.
Matt Z alongside. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Thanks for giving up the glove and the shoes tonight.
Don't mind me. I'm just enthralled with Duck Dynasty here.
Oh, stop it. Turn those TVs off.
I got this big screen in front of me. I got to see what Duck Dynasty is all about.
All right, Z. Big win over the Steelers.
Yeah, that was nice. A lot of offense. And some big plays on defense.
Yes.
Tremont Williams.
We'll hear about
Jackson.
a bunch of them in a minute. I'm just a little nervous about a couple of things, and that is I don't think the preferred starting offensive line has taken a snap yet in training camp.
Right.
And it doesn't look like they will now that Justin McCray's sitting and probably won't go this week. Defensively, now you get Nick Perry coming out of the doghouse. He's off the PUP list, which is good news, and he'll start working his way back into it. And there's still a lot of moving parts as Mike Pettin learns his system, and there's been, quite honestly, some breakdowns here and there. Steelers are a very good running team. Creased pretty good there. And they got caught with 10 men on the field. So these kinds of things have got to get worked out, and you got 2 games left to do it. And now only 2 public practices left to do it. A very brief finish to camp coming up.
You see this in preseason now, especially when it comes to tackling. I mean, you talk about in that first quarter just getting gashed on the run. There was missed tackle after missed tackle, poor form, those sorts of things. That happens in the first few weeks of preseason because these guys don't get to do that in practices.
I know.
You know, you just don't get to work on those techniques in live fire situations. So you're going to expect that. You just hope that they clean it up, look at the film, get back to basics with that sort of a thing. And they will. They will.
And they will. They will. But it sure was fun last Thursday night when the Packers
nice to see Rodgers return.
Aaron's return, brief, one series, but did a little bit of everything in that series. He ducked under an oncoming defensive end. He made a nice little run. He drew a man off sides. He's very good at that. Had a freebie, hit Devontae Adams, and then the connection everybody's waiting to see. We won't have to wait any longer. He found Jimmy Graham for the touchdown, and away they go.
I know you and I have talked about this, off air, different programs. Very excited to see what Rodgers, Graham, and Lewis can do. That sort of that 3-headed monster with the twin towers at your tight end position, and then Rodgers who can find those guys down the seam, spread out
Adams,
wide.
Cobb,
Adams,
Allison,
Cobb,
Kumaro on the outs. This passing game, this has the makings of as an explosive offense. Geez, since the last time Joe
if
Philbin
everybody
was
stays
here.
healthy,
if
everyone stays healthy, and that's always the key. I mean, that sort of statement gets beaten to death, but it is crucial in the NFL. You need your top guys to remain healthy all season long.
All right, so we'll have our fun and games. Hot and cold plays are back tonight. We got the door prize at the end of the show, so make sure you sign up for that. But let's take you back a few nights to Lambeau Field for the 69th edition of the Upper Midwest Shrine Game. Nice to see the Fez crowd back in Lambeau. Used to be a lot more fun at County Stadium. They had the 20-man bicycle and the clowns and the balloons. Well, they still have the balloons, but
why can't New Era hook us up with the Fez hats
I don't
instead
know.
of the Packers
we should ask them for the Fez next year. But anyway, great to have the Shriners back. That's one of the oldest charity games in the NFL preseason's history, I believe. And anyway, it was another fun night as the Packers get the win. As we start every show, we go back to the locker rooms. It'll be a lot more fresh when the games are on Sunday and the show's on Monday. But we got to go back to Thursday to hear from head coach Mike McCarthy, who is now 2 for 2 with 82 points scored.
There's plenty not to be excited about. I think the trajectory of the football team is we're on a good path, but by no means are we have a lot of work to do. It's like anything in this business. It's never as good as you think it is, and it's usually not as bad as you think it is.
No, never as good, never as bad. I agree. It is what it is. They made a lot of plays. There's no question about it. We talked about Aaron making his preseason debut. But, he was a little different. He got all mushy in his old age after the game.
First, I got to thank the fans. To be back on Lambeau was a thrill. And the ovation touched me. I had to kind of wipe away some tears in my eyes. I know getting over 30, those of us over 30, I think that's kind of a number where you start to get a little softer maybe, and things get to you a little bit. But that really meant a lot to me. I had to settle myself down a little bit.
Yeah, he only had a series to settle down, but he got settled down.
Yeah, I knew Danica was going to turn him into a crying mess.
Really?
I just knew it.
Really?
Yeah.
Go, Daddy.
I think Olivia hardened him as a man, and now Danica's just breaking him back down.
Softening him back down. All right. But that was his first preseason game at Lambeau Field. I didn't realize this since 2004.
It's been a long time.
Holy cow.
Long time.
He doesn't get many snaps, and he may not get any more this week. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. All four quarterbacks did make plays, a collective rating of 121.6. Deshaun Kaiser threw a pair of TDs and said it got better.
Yeah, absolutely. You take it one play at a time, and those drives were, the first couple drives were just trying to get the timing of the defense, understanding, where my depth is. You always got to be aware of that, making sure you're stepping up in the pocket. But once again, it's about stringing together positive plays, and those, last couple drives were exactly how we want the ball to be moved.
Threw some nice throws, a little shorty to tight end, and then the long one we'll hear about in a minute. Brett Hundley, he did his thing coming in as the second QB. He didn't throw for one, but he ran for 10 yards and a touchdown, and he thought everything was a little bit cleaner.
We played a heck of a game. We had some fun. Aaron got out there, got things rolling. I got in there for a little bit, and we moved the ball, and scored a touchdown. Got some things done with my legs tonight. And with the arm, and to move the ball like that on their one defense was awesome.
Yeah, Steelers known for defense. Morgan Burnett playing defense for the Steelers. Morgan made some plays. Good to see Morgan at the ball game again, but they sure did pile up the yards and the plays again. And the big play, hey, guess who? Jake Kummerow did it again. This time an 82-yard catch and run score.
Yeah, I just caught the ball and turned around and saw a lot of open field in front of me, and I saw he was the only guy back there, so I just ran straight at him, tried to skinny him up and give myself a two-way go. And just the reaction was to dip inside of him, and I just took off after that.
We got to tell him to forget about the Lambeau lunge and just do the Lambeau leap, because diving into the end zone, he suffered a stinger on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Didn't practice today, but I think he'll be fine. And he sure has been fine with the two biggest offensive scores so far this preseason. And even the defense got into the act with a pair of pick sixes. Tramon Williams got his on the very first snap of the game. And rookie Josh Jackson got his on the second snap of the second half, showing some pretty good balance on that catch and run.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I ain't step out of bounds, so I was trying to score. It's my mama's birthday today, so I told her I was going to get one first.
Happy birthday, Mrs. Jackson.
That was really cool.
That was kind of neat to give Mom the birthday present.
And he had a nice punt return as well.
Yeah, 41-yarder, well set up play there. And Reggie Gilbert, well, he led the rush parade with 2.5 sacks and 3 more hurries.
We did a good job as a defense trying to get after the quarterback a little bit. And guys on the back end, they definitely bought some time for us. So I feel like it worked vice versa and paid off for us tonight.
All right, a lot right. A little bit wrong. Fix that up.
It happens.
Got 2 more to go. The Raiders Friday night, the Chiefs next Thursday night, and away they go.
Week 3 is when you typically see more of your starting quarterback. You're starting.
But it's going to be an atypical week 3.
Yes, it will be.
Because of some of the reasons we talked about. I don't think Rodgers is going to get snaps, if any. He didn't take any number 1 snaps today. Brett Hundley ran with the ones. And we talked about the offensive line, talked about all of the moving parts. I still think it's going to be a much more evaluation game 3 than a dress rehearsal for the starters game 3 than we've seen in the past.
That could be.
All right, we'll find out. All right, so much for the preliminaries. We got to get him on, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, the new general manager of the Packers, Brian Gutekunst, will be stepping up on stage. We welcome our listeners from Sheboygan and Wausau and those viewing streaming on those Midwest communication radio stations. We are live from the Stadium View, the brand new Stadium View on Holmgren Way. Great place to come any night of the week.
Yeah, always great music outside here at the Stadium View.
Yeah, going to start tonight.
Logan Spicer, he is playing tonight from 6 to 9:30. He was here last week.
Yeah.
He sounds like a recording artist. He's really
caught
good.
Him strumming on the way out.
He's really good. Stop in before or after practices here at the Stadium View. Enjoy it. Double bubble all night tonight. And then Tuesday through Friday, Music in the beer garden. They always have those events. Play bingo with the DJ every Wednesday, 6 to 9. And watch the Packers play this Friday night. They give away shots with every touchdown.
Oh, boy.
It's Wisconsin.
Thursday night must
What
have
do you
been
want?
crazy with
touchdowns equal shots in Wisconsin.
All right. Hey, we're going to have a good time because Goody is next. Don't go away. The fifth quarter returns right after this timeout.
Live from the Stadium View Bar and Grill, here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and it's good to be with you. Week 2 of the preseason. Tradition that started way back with Ronald Wolf when he was running the show, and it continued with Theodore. Ted Thompson did it every year he was general manager. But on January, this fella assumed the position for the Green Bay Packers. After 20 years in the organization as a scout, director of player personnel, he ascended to the role of general manager, the 10th GM in Green Bay Packer history, and I'm proud to introduce him and really glad he can continue on as a summer visit from the leader of the pack. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Gutekunst. Hey, Gut.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming over. Really appreciate it. Nice to have you and the family here. And I want to say hi to your dad, John, the former Gopher head coach, made it over tonight to watch as well.
Yeah, no, it's glad he's here. We watched a little film today, watched a little practice, so it's been a good day.
You have Dad watch some film with you?
Yeah, he's got some opinions.
I bet he does. I bet he does.
Wait. How are his opinions different than your actual paid coaching staff?
Oh, significant at times. Sure.
Yeah.
No, but that's I don't get a chance to do this very often, so that was really kind of nice the last couple of days. Sit down and watch a little tape. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Has it been a whirlwind 6-7 months for you?
Yeah, a little bit. Although, especially during the draft and free agency, that time's always a whirlwind. So we kind of just put our head down, and it really wasn't much different than it had been, with the exception of just kind of having to make the decision myself. But as we've kind of gotten into training camp and stuff like that, it's there's a routine that's kind of set in place, and things are starting to become more normal.
Having been here with Ron, he's the one who hired you. Having been here through Ted's tenure, you obviously had a real feel for how this was going to go. And have you kind of followed that same blueprint? And if not, how are you kind of striking out on your own in this position?
Sure. I think the foundation of our scouting principles have stayed the same, and the foundation of our process really has stayed the same. I think we've tweaked some things. We always have. Ted did things a little different than Ron did, and I'll do things a little bit different than either one of those guys did. But I've learned a lot from both those guys, and as well as many others that have come through the Packer organization. And I've kind of made it my own now. The group we have now, along with John Wojciechowski, John Eric Sullivan, and many others, we're going to kind of make this thing our own and move forward. And but the foundational principles of how we go about scouting will stay the same.
The departures of Elliott Wolf and Alonzo Highsmith, both going to Cleveland, were they? Let's put it to mildly. Were they not unexpected in some regard? Elliott certainly was a candidate. Alonzo was considered. Job went to you. Did you kind of figure that might happen?
Yeah, I don't know. Alonzo actually left before everything went down, so that was a little different. But with Elliott, that was probably expected. Both those guys, very close friends of mine. Worked with them for a long time, and it was a little bittersweet to not be able to continue this journey with them. But we kept the rest of our staff intact, and we added some really nice new pieces. And we're excited where we're headed with them.
How about the whole organizational structure? We had Mark Murphy on last week. He talked about the silos. He talked about the lines of communication, much more open, free-flowing. Can you just give your thoughts on that and how that seems to be going so far?
It's been great.
Really?
I think the one unique thing about me coming into this role, which is unique to this position, is the fact that I've been here for 19 years. And I've worked with most all of these guys for a long time, so the relationships were already there. Usually when a new GM takes over, it's a completely different set of people, maybe that they don't know, and there's a time frame that it takes to get to know those people and trust them. So the relationships were already in place, and the communication, I think, between the four of us, Russ Ball, Mark Murphy, and obviously Mike McCarthy, has been excellent.
All right. Z, what do you got?
Talk about a little bit of the interview hiring process for the GM job with the Packers. What was that like for you? Kind of walk us through how that all unfolded.
Sure. So I'd been fortunate enough to be able to interview for a couple other general manager jobs along the way, so it wasn't my first go-around through it. but it is a little different when you're sitting across from someone you have a long relationships with, and a lot of the people that I talked to for the Green Bay interview, obviously I had worked side by side with on some things, so that was a little different. You never really know how it goes. You know how you feel about it, but you don't know how they feel. And I was on a plane the next day headed to Houston, so it was a little bit of a whirlwind weekend, but I couldn't have been happier getting back here. Me and my family just feel really blessed to be able to stay in the Green Bay area and continue to raise our children. And obviously, we've been with the Packers for a long time and would like to continue to be.
Yeah, I mean, you interviewed with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo, Green Bay. I say Green Bay, but that's just me.
But you were in Houston, right?
I was in Houston.
Yeah, you were ready to go there, and
yeah.
Good thing you didn't forget to pack your cell phone.
We feel exceptionally blessed to be here. So.
How did you celebrate when you found out you are now the GM of the Green Bay Packers?
That's a good question. I don't know if we have yet.
Oh no?
Yeah. So it was a long journey back the day after, and then obviously the press conference the next day. So there's a lot of things to be done. But I think me and my wife, took a few minutes every once in a while to
save the party till the fifth Lombardi gets.
That sounds like a good plan. That sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, why not?
So,
why not?
In terms of your job, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses?
Yeah. Well, I'll say, obviously, I have a scouting background. That's what I've done all my life. I've been around football since the day I was born. So that's my strength, is the football part of it. Scouting in particular, college scouting even more particular. I think some of the more managerial pieces of it is new to me. But at the same time, I'm a pretty open person, and I think the relationships I have in the building have kind of, made that an easier transition than it would be for some people.
Son of a coach, did he try to steer you into coaching? You tried just briefly at it?
No, he never tried to steer me into anything. I think he just wanted me to follow something that I loved and maybe find something I was good at, So, which was a challenge. But, I think coaching profession is a tough profession, and the football life in general can be tough, but I kind of developed a passion for competition and football in general pretty early, and it was an easy transition trying to find something that I like to do and could get paid at.
So you dove right in. Your first free agent signing, Joel Boagno.
Right.
I think he's the leading rusher for this team.
I think he is.
I think he is.
That's because Brian's a genius.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's it.
Boy, he can find those kids.
Yes.
I tell you what is Boagno up to? Yeah, 24 for 66.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
But we'll get there. But no, you did dive in. Jimmy Graham, Muhammad Wilkerson, Tramon Williams coming back. All three guys who have been all-pro.
Yeah, I think as we sat down with the staff and started to get into free agency, we wanted to be really, really active, and we wanted to kind of let the NFL, the agents, the players know that we were going to be active. We hadn't been so much in the past, and we wanted to make sure that they understood that this was something real. So I was really proud of our staff, the guys, the way they attacked it. We were in a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and when the right opportunities presented themselves, I think we were ready and able to pull the trigger. We felt prepared to do so.
Mercedes Lewis is another one. Okay, and you were here when the Joe Philbin, Mike McCarthy offense with a dynamic Jermichael Finley tight end, and what that did to the overall picture. Was that in your mind? Is that if we can get this position to a real position of strength, it will open up the entire field, sideline to sideline and 40 yards down?
Right. I think we've always felt, specifically Mike has always felt, that with the rules in the NFL right now, that the middle of the field is open, and obviously when we had Jermichael Finley, we exploited that pretty well, and we just wanted. We thought that was important. We also thought it was important to have a kind of a bigger wide tight end on the line of scrimmage for the run game and pass blocking as well. To add two guys, former Pro Bowlers, who have both been dynamic in their careers, I thought was important. But equally as important was the locker room guys. These guys are wired exactly the way that we want them to kind of help lead our football team where we want to go. So, so far so good. They've looked really good in camp, and I think they add a different dimension than what we've had in the past.
I don't want to, crossed wires can really be disruptive. I'll just throw out a Des Bryant. Okay, he visited Cleveland, and it wasn't going to happen this weekend. But that really is important to you to make sure. We all know Tramon Williams, and I've heard when Stacey Dales was here for the NFL Network, she told me Mercedes Lewis is one of the best locker room guys the Jaguars have ever had. That is a big, big component to this.
There's no doubt. We're trying to build a team. Teams win championships, not individual players. So I think it's really important that you have those guys in the locker room, and they got to be able to play.
Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I think as you have a nucleus of players who are always going to be young the way the CBA is set up, and I think it's important to have Tramon Williams, Mercedes Lewis, Jimmy Graham, Devontae Adams is emerging into one of those roles, Mike Daniels, guys like that who can kind of lead your team where it needs to go. And we were happy to add those guys. It's always a different dimension when they come into your locker room from other places. But so far, it's been an excellent.
I've been in that locker room since they got here,
positive.
Brian, and they do. It is seamless. They fit right in, and it looks like they've been a part of it for a couple of years already. It really does. I get that feeling.
Yeah, and and more importantly, they can really play. And I think that's at the end of the day, it's like it's one thing to be a good leader, but if you can't play, it's going to be a tough transition for you with the other players.
Right, Matt.
You took over for Ted Thompson, obviously. Talk about the relationship you have with Ted, what he meant to you through this process, and kind of grooming you for this position.
Sure. Yeah, so, I actually, when I was hired by Ron, Ted was here. He hadn't left for Seattle yet. So that was my first exposure. I actually got probably closer to Ted when he was in Seattle, and then just felt it was a blessing when he came back to run the organization. He's been such an unbelievable mentor and friend to me during my career, specifically the last 6 years that I've lived in Green Bay and been with him every day. So to be able to kind of get an opportunity to do something you've kind of prepared for all your career, but then have the guy who kind of mentored you, still in the building, right next to you, helping you through these new things is, I can't explain it.
He's in your ear, but not over your shoulder, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And for those of you that know Ted, he never would be.
No,
that's not his personality.
We've had plenty of experience with Ted. Well, you've seen him at work in this building, this room. So
and for the most part, it's usually me going to him and asking, hey, have you been in this situation? What did you do here? What did you do there? Every once in a while, he'll pull me aside and say, "Hey, kid, don't forget about this." But like I said, it's the best part about it too is just the influence he has on all our other scouts and personnel guys, some of our coaches. He's very, very still much in the building and has a very positive impact.
Well, yeah, like I said, you saw Ted at work on this show. In fact, we're part of his posse that came down here every year, sat in the back and ran up the big.
You can't prove that.
Yeah, ran up the big tab for the. For the
you guys came for the chicken wings and Bud Light.
Yeah, they came
like
out with
it. I don't think there's any proof for that.
You spent years making recommendations on players, scouting players, putting all of those things together. What was it like for you when you actually got to select your first player, make a decision as the GM?
Well, we had so many so fast. Obviously, in free agency, there was so much work to be done, and there was a lot of players we were in on and it didn't happen, and there was other ones that we did. But if you're talking about the draft specifically, I've been a college scout most of my life, so that was kind of a bit of a dream come true. But I think the neatest part about it was I really felt good about the work that the staff and I did. And when you feel that prepared about your board, it was really enjoyable. We just felt we really had a handle on the board, on the players that were on the board. And I think that made it a lot of fun. I think we really helped our football team. And it was just, I hope that every time I go into the draft that I feel that prepared.
It's amazing how much hand-wringing goes on before the draft, and then you and Ted and everyone else said, once the draft, it just flows, and it is a lot easier than it appears. And I'll tip the cap. I mean, you trade down, you trade up, you get Jair, you get a number one next year. Yeah. Got a bunch of receivers that are running around making plays. It's
obviously takes a while to see if these guys can really turn into true professionals and have the impact that we want them to have with the Packers. But, I think their early outlook is good, and I really like the way they're competing, the way they're working to become professionals. It doesn't happen overnight. I like the way they gravitate to the older players and are trying to perfect their craft. So that's been exciting. It's been, again, we got a long way to go. They have a long way to go, but the attitude and the effort has been really good.
Long way to go. You got to cut that roster in a couple of weeks. It's not much time at all. We're going to take a break. When we come back, much more with Packer General Manager Brian Gutekunst. We're live from the Stadium View. Fifth quarter returns right after this. All right, welcome back, everybody. Stadium View, halfway through. We got to get to our fun and games department. You know how this works. The hot and cold play of the day presented by Robinsons. You guessed the hot play of the game from Thursday night. You're taking home a prize tonight, and you'll also be qualified for a grand prize at the end of the season. A pair of indoor club seats to that Packers finale against the Kitty Cats from Motown. So line them up. And let's see if we can't find the hot play of the day. All right. Hot play from Thursday night. Lot to choose from.
We got Roger up first. Roger, what's your guess?
Williams pick 6, 13 seconds into the...
Which one?
Tremont's pick 6.
Tremont pick? You can't have a hot play on the first... Yes, you can have a hot play. The very first offensive snap. Tremont stepped in front of Darius Hayward-Bay. He swiped young Mason Rudolph's pass, jogged in 25 yards for a touchdown.
Just a routine play. You know, first 15 plays, you're going to get a lot of different looks from teams, so they can see what your adjustments will be. It just so happened the first look that we got was an empty look. And most times, most teams run quick game out of empty looks, because if you run a lot of blitzes, then they know they got to get the ball out quick. And I just was aware of that, and I was just ready to make a play at that point.
Tremont Williams, an easy one. Roger, you're in. Congrats. Well done. Take your prize home tonight, and we'll do the cold play a little bit later on. From the hot play to the hot topic with the Packer general manager, Brian Gutekunst, and that is number 12, Brian. And before we kind of delve into the conversation, and I know you're not going to just be real forthcoming on everything that's going on, Aaron was interviewed and was on the Wilde and Tausch show on ESPN Milwaukee and Madison today, and he had some very thoughtful comments about the whole process. And we'll begin with this one. Aaron saying his new contract extension is not top of mind.
The beauty in telling the truth is it's easy. So when I say at my locker, I'm here now and I'm focused on the team. It's not fluff. It's not BS. Look, when I'm here at the stadium and I'm working, I'm tuned into the locker room. I'm tuned into the meeting rooms. I'm tuned into practice field. I'm tuned into how the chemistry's coming together. I'm tuned into how guys are settling into their roles in this team and figuring out where they fit in and seeing their personalities come out and how this all gels together and what guys to encourage and raise up in their leadership and what guys, I need to bring along slowly, what guys need to get on. That's what I care about. The other stuff is for Dave, And I've said it every time because it's not BS. It's the truth. Dave handles my contract. Obviously, it's important to me. Obviously, I'd love to finish my career here, but I'm busy right now. I'm being a leader on this team. I'm focused on being the quarterback of the team. And if nothing gets done, it won't change anything because all I'm worried about right now is playing ball. If something does get done, that's fantastic. It's great.
Aaron Rodgers talking about where it stands right now, Brian, and I'm sure you're encouraged by that. He is immersed in leading this team right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think anybody who's been out at training camp on a regular basis can see he's laser focused. I think he's doing a great job. He looks in excellent shape, and I think everybody, is really eager to get to the regular season to see what he can do. He's handling it exactly the right way. He's handling his business and letting David, take care of the contract part of it, just like we're letting Russ Ball, take care of it from our end. So I think the nice thing is both parties want the same thing. We want Aaron to be here for a long time and finish his career as a Packer. And usually when that's the case, it's just a matter of time before that happens.
Do you feel the external pressures from outside the building to get this resolved?
Only when asked about it,
really?
But not a lot. Like I said, I think it's been a really good open dialogue and conversation between the Packers and Aaron's representation, and at no time has there been any hiccups. So I really feel good about the way we're going, and with the possibilities that could get done.
One more from Aaron I want you to listen to, Brian, and get your reaction. As for the negotiations themselves, Aaron said he knows it takes two to tango.
If you ask the team about the last deal that we did, and you ask me, both sides are happy, right? They paid me a lot of money, and they never had a major salary cap year, right? A year that other quarterbacks has had, Breeze has had, and Flacco's had, and these guys where you have 28, 29, 30 million against the cap, right? That's never happened on my contract. So in both our opinions, we've been able to still add guys to the mix and have a competitive team. And from my standpoint, they pay me a ton of money, and I'm, super, extremely financially blessed and very happy. If we do another deal, that obviously is the goal. I don't think they would want to, nickel and dime me, and I'm not trying to screw them. This is a partnership. That's the only way this is going to work, and the best way things work in this situation is that we're in this thing together. And if they make that financial commitment, that's what they're saying. And also there's an expectation that you're going to play well. And then that's my side of the bargain.
He uses the word bargain loosely, I think, but it is a partnership. And the point he brought up, Brian, and there is a whole 52 and 10 more on the practice squad that you've got to juggle into this thing called the salary cap to make it all fit.
Yeah, I think Aaron had it exactly right in his comments. I mean, it's a team game, and we're trying to win a championship, and he's a huge important part of that. So he's been through this before. He's very wise with his words, and I think again, I think the organization sees it very, very similarly.
You have no timetable, right?
No, I do not.
All right. You have them for 2. Franchise tag, would you be willing to wield that?
Oh, you know what? I don't think we would ever. We want to get an extension done with Aaron,
right.
And I think Aaron does as well. So we're not thinking about it in those terms. We're just diligently kind of working towards that extension, and I think that'll get done. I think those things are not in any kind of play at this time.
All right. See?
Want to switch gears a little bit? What was it like growing up a coach's kid?
Oh, it was a blessing. I mean, to be around, the game of football, being in locker rooms, on the field. I had 2 younger brothers, and it was just was very fortunate to be around some things that maybe most kids don't get to be around. Coaches work hard; they work long hours, so there is some time missed. But at the same time, the quality of time you get with your family, and living and dying on Saturdays and going to games and things like that. That was a pretty unique way to grow up, and was just blessed to be able to do
Was there
that.
always film in the house?
I actually have very early memories of being in the living room. I think it was 8mm tape, right, Dad?
Was it 8mm?
I think it was 8mm tape, kind of rolling, and him kind of splicing things together, watching tape. So I we've gone from that to beta tape.
Oh my
to
gosh.
now it's obviously all digital, and the technology certainly has changed. But I can actually remember that as a kid. So
Did he teach you to take notes, what to look for? I mean, was he kind of helping you along the way, even as a kid? Just kind of, here's what I'm looking for?
I think he was just trying to make sure I got in on time and wasn't screwing up and not doing things. I don't think he was worried about that. I think being around it, like I was able to be around it, you couldn't help but just kind of take certain things in about the game. And then, my path I've just been blessed along the way. I got to play college football at the University of Wisconsin lacrosse, where Roger Herring and Roland Christensen were there, and those guys were legends at the Division III level. Learned so much there, and then to be able to become an intern with Ron Wolf, and then eventually get a job in Kansas City.
Did you go with John?
Schneider.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, so I went with John Schneider to Kansas City for about 8 months. Came back. Ron hired me back here, and then obviously all these years with Ted, and just along the way, the John Dorseys and the Reggie McKenzie's and the Scott McLuhans and all these guys that had such a wealth of experience in football. It's just prepared me so well for
you
now.
probably just soaked that all in, but you still have to have a natural eye for talent. What strikes you about a player? That's got to be kind of from within, isn't it? You just have that feeling?
Yeah, I think there's obviously so many different things, but I think the one thing that maybe more than one thing, but I think instincts and then toughness. And when I say toughness, it's not just physical toughness, but there's a mental toughness to it. But I think those are the things that I think that sometimes go unnoticed. It's not always the size or the speed, but the instincts to be able to react fast. And then this is a hard game. It's a hard game to play day in and day out. There's a physical toughness nature you have to have, and also a mental toughness. And I think those are the things that all of our scouts, I think, those are the things we're looking for. We're talking to people about how they were in college. And I think it's a really important part.
So
of what we do.
if you went to Va-Tech and North Carolina or whatever, you get a sense of mental toughness by watching? The physical stuff is obvious, how they play.
Sure, I think there's a little bit of what we might call tape DNA, where how they play the game, and that shows a little bit of that physical or mental toughness.
Okay.
But it's also talking to their coaches, talking to people that they've been with for the last 4 or 5 years, and how they've overcome adversity and how they face challenges. I think our scouts do such a great job, and that's why a guy like me is so reliant on our scouts on the ground and the information that they gather, because the best way to know a player's future is to study his history. So that's kind of how we go about it. It's not an exact science, and there's certainly a lot of factors that go into whether they're successful or not, but those are a couple of the things.
All right.
You mentioned you played football at lacrosse, a couple of years there, then you get an injury, right?
Right.
Then you coach with lacrosse. You were linebackers coach in 1995 for their national championship team.
Yeah.
What was that experience like for you?
Salem, Virginia.
Yeah, well, I kind of was just assisting Roland Christensen at the time, and as the season went along, I got a little bit more involved. But yeah, my few years coaching there was a phenomenal experience. We had a JV team, so I headed that up as the head JV coach, and it was just when you're coaching in that level, there's so many things you have to do because you don't have a big support system. So you really kind of get it from every angle. And like I said, I wouldn't trade that time for anything. Lacrosse is a really fun place to be.
Yes, it is.
And, but it
good
was
college town.
Yeah, but we were really, really good at the time, and we actually, I think, had 7 or 8 guys go to pro camps from that little small school. So it was a great time, and really kind of started to that's where I kind of thought I could do this as a career.
All right.
What was your first job in the NFL?
First, I interned really briefly. The Saints used to come to lacrosse.
They train in lacrosse, yeah.
So I had a couple weeks there.
League.
Yeah, I had a couple weeks there, and then obviously I interned in Green Bay in 1997 training camp. But I would say the first real job that I had was in Kansas City in 1998. Marty Schottenheimer was the head coach. Carl Peterson was the general manager. The reason I got there was because the guys in Green Bay had recommended me to John Schneider. And so I got about 8 months. That was my first season there. Again, a great learning experience. They were coming off a 13-3 year. Everybody expected them to go to the Super Bowl. We brought in a lot of guys that were questionable character guys, and it turned into a dismal 7-9 season. So I learned a lot about locker room and what matters
chemistry.
During that season.
Yeah, chemistry class right away. Yeah, very good.
And then immediately, right after that season, I was back in Green Bay.
All right.
Why, with your dad being a coach, why didn't you want to go the coach's route? Why did you go scouting route?
Wasn't something that I set out to do. It's just something as I coached those couple of years of lacrosse and started to try to figure out what I was going to do. I was also a very good bartender. So that was the other option.
Stadium View, are you listening?
All right.
I see they're hiring outside.
Yes, I saw. Apply with him.
I might have to shake off the rust. But,
as long as you can pour Jägermeister, nobody cares.
Really. John Dorsey called me while I actually was tending bar for a wedding, offering me an internship. And again, I didn't know a whole lot about scouting, but I thought it was something I couldn't pass up. Yep. And once I started doing it, it just it led to bigger things, and it was something I really felt passionate about. And that grew the more I did it.
And now you're sitting in the chair right next to us here at the Stadium View. We got to take a break. How this whole 2018 squad is going to get put together, we'll cover that in one more segment with Packer General Manager Brian Gutekunst when the fifth quarter returns right after this timeout.
Here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. GM Brian Gutekunst, our guest tonight. One more segment with him, but before we get to that, we got to find a Coldplay winner. You got the hot play? What was the Coldplay from the win over the Steelers last Thursday night? Who you got in line, Z?
Lyle is first up.
Lyle, what do you got?
Montgomery's fumble.
Good boy. That was about... Yeah, that was the only really chilly one. Packers were up 14 3 minutes into the game, but in a span of 46 seconds in the first quarter, Pittsburgh tied it up with a pair of touchdowns, sandwiched around that Coldplay. Ty's fumbled kickoff return. Sparing Ty's explanation of what happened, we turn back again to Tramon Williams, who talked about those two quick Pittsburgh scores.
They just start running the ball. One of the things you got to go back and look at. You start off the game so quick, get 2 quick touchdowns, and then it don't look like it should look all of a sudden for a couple series. So most definitely, that's one of the things that we preach about all the time. They're not in the end zone until they're in the end zone. No matter what it is, sudden change, whether it's on the 1 yard line or whether it's on our side of the ball, we got to get the stop. We just got more work to do, which is a good thing.
A very good thing. All right, yeah. Made mistakes, gave up the one touchdown after the fumble, made some mistakes, gave up a touchdown, but they learned some valuable lessons about adversity defense. And this guy, Brian, we talked a little bit about him. He is awesome in the locker room. I really missed him dealing with the media. He's fantastic.
Yeah, Tremon's a true pro. There's no doubt about it. He's also a really good player.
Yeah,
and I think
still got it, I think, at 35.
Yeah, he's just one of those freaks that kind of, as he gets older, his flexibility, his quickness, his speed just hasn't really gone away. Plus, obviously, the experience is just is something that he's going to help us.
All right, you got 2 games to go, 2 public practices, a couple of walkthroughs, non-padded, to figure out who stays, who goes.
Yeah, it's we try not to jump the gun too early and start to make decisions too early. There's still 2 more preseason games to go and some practices, so it's all important. When we get to the end of it, we'll get together as a staff and try to make the best decision for the Packers. It's never an easy time. It's really tough. These guys have put in so much work and sacrificed so much to be here. It's never a good day to have to let those guys go, but it's just a necessary part of the business.
It is. And you're really running the revolving running back door thanks to Devontae May's hamstring, Jamal Williams a little nicked up, and Akeem Judd's retirement on the weekend. Talk about curveballs.
Yeah, I was joking with the offensive staff that they're working them too hard in practice.
Really?
But, football, again, I mentioned it earlier. Football's a tough game. It's a hard game. And I think if your heart's not in it, you're probably not going to be there very long. So.
We're seeing more, 3 this year.
Yeah.
You had the linebacker, you had Michael Clark, now this.
Yeah.
Is there something to that? Did Chris Borland kind of open up a can of worms when he was so openly talking about, I want to be able to walk and talk when I'm 30? And he gave it up quick.
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think there's some misconceptions out there that might be steering some things maybe the wrong direction. But I think these situations we had this year are a little unique. But I still think that overall that the passion to play the game is still out there. And I hope that's not a trend, but I haven't seen it yet. I think what we saw this year is not, I think it's just unique to each guy's situation.
A very concerned listener here in our crowd came up and talked about the offensive line. You haven't had the preferred 5 start a snap, I don't think, together in camp. You've had the backups now playing. Byron Bell has to go to guard after he's been working on it. Is there a sense of dishevelment there, or is this should settle down? Brian is working his way back. I know Lane Taylor is going to get back. And Justin McCray, I don't think, was serious. But, again, it's not a whole lot of time together at a position that has to play together.
Sure. I think I wouldn't, use the term dishevelment or anything like that. I think, it's good for our guys to cross-train and have some versatility inside and out. And certainly guys have had an opportunity to play more than, with other guys than they have in the past. But at some point, you would like to get 5 guys healthy and get enough snaps under their belt to move forward. Unfortunately, in the NFL, that's a very rare thing. These guys are pros; they're working the best they can. But I think over the next 2 preseason games, we'll kind of start to see how it's going to play out.
All right, how can you possibly cut Jay Kummerow, Brian? This guy's been fantastic.
Yeah, he's had an outstanding camp. It's really unfortunate the injury that he had in last week's game, but he's taken he's made the most of every opportunity that he's been given, and he's a Division III.
He's a WEAC guy.
Yeah, but
it's a soft spot for you.
But he's a Whitewater guy.
Oh, all right.
That's.
So if he goes to Stout, he sticks. Whitewater, yeah, thanks, no.
But no, he like I said, he's made the most out of his opportunities, and he's had a couple things that through his career that have held him back. But this year, you really see him take off.
See, got any roster tidbits for him?
Before you were GM, you could kind of hide in the background. Fans probably didn't really approach you all that often. Now you're the GM. You're the face. Every decision you make, especially in this town, overanalyzed. Are you ready for fan interactions in the grocery stores and at restaurants, especially if you don't get off to a hot start?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody's ever ready for that stuff. I think the one nice thing is, I've lived in this community for the 6 years now.
Yeah.
A lot of the places that I go on a regular basis, whether it be volleyball games, soccer games, baseball games, the people that are there know me already. They've seen me there for the last 6 years, so that's pretty normal. I think, some of it's a little different, but I I don't have the dashing good looks that Ted Thompson had, where everybody recognized him.
Yeah,
so
right.
Give it time. Give it time.
I'm able to hide a little easier, maybe than some.
Now, if my wife was at the show, she'd say, "What were you doing with Jordy?" You know, she'd recognize you and bring that. Those are the tough calls, aren't they? Yeah. They really are.
Well, I'm glad your wife's not here. So that's
I know. We'll spare that one.
Yeah, there's it's the NFL, and there's going to be tough decisions every year, every week. It's not easy to see a player of Jordy's stature and someone we cared about so much that have to go. That's not something you ever want to do, but we always have to make decisions that are best for our football team moving forward, and we will always do that. If we feel that's the best route, we will do it.
Fans have got to get the bigger picture kind of in mind, don't they? I mean, they just do. And in some instances, so do we, the media.
And we live in a social media world. Do you have a Twitter account?
I do not.
Okay, good for you.
Yes.
Stay off of Twitter.
Yes.
As far as you know, I do not.
Yeah.
Especially during the football season.
Yes.
I was going to say that has got to get to people, just that the hatred and the anger for all these little things. It's a thing with players we always ask.
Yeah.
But if you stay away from that, that's good for you.
I don't think you can worry about that stuff. I will say, you kind of get in, tunnel vision, and you don't really know what's going on. I know after we've moved back in the draft, again, I had no idea, but I guess people weren't really happy with me as I moved back in the draft.
Fair.
Right.
That's fair.
And, by the time I had heard any of that, we had moved up, drafted, got another pick. So, yeah, I think we got enough on our plate to do than to worry about those kind of things. Some wise people once told me, if you win, it'll take care of itself, and if you lose, it'll take care of itself, and nothing else really matters.
One more for you, Brian. How can this team get back to where it has been? Playoffs 8 years in a row, Super Bowl now, unfortunately, a few years removed. What's got to happen?
They got to come together as a team. That's going to be really important. Health is a big factor in that as well. But I think the biggest thing is, there's always going to be adversity in an NFL season. How they step up to that challenge, how they overcome it, how they handle the success that they'll have. Those will be some of the keys to us getting where we want to go. I'm pretty confident we got the guys in that building to do it. And we're looking forward to the season. We're looking forward to that first game against Chicago.
I was really looking forward to this evening, and you did not disappoint. A home run, Brian. It was an awesome chance to visit with you and meet with some fans here tonight. Did a great job. Appreciate it. Hope you can do it again sometime.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. It's like I said, I've been coming here for the last 6 or 7 years. I just never had to talk. So.
All right, you're on this side of the table now. Well done. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for Packers General Manager Brian Gutekunst. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Don't go away. Fifth quarter returns right after this.
Here are Mark Daniels and Matt Z.
Thanks to Brian Gutekunst. Next Monday night, we're back after the Packers and the Raiders. Until then, so long, everybody.
Bye, everybody.